My name is Elijah, and I've been blind for as long as I can remember. Some people ask me if I remember colors, if I can picture faces, if I dream in the way they do. I usually smile and shake my head because it's easier than trying to explain. The truth is, my world is not made of colors or pictures. It's made of sounds. The drip of rain on tin roofs, the soft thud of my mother's footsteps as she moved across our tiny kitchen, the distant rumble of buses rolling down cracked city streets. To me, every sound is a brushstroke, every vibration a kind of light, every silence its own kind of darkness. I was born on the south side of the city, in a neighborhood most people drove past without stopping. My mother raised me by herself after my father left, and she worked shifts at a laundromat just to keep the lights on. We didn't have much, but she gave me the one thing I never stopped needing: love and belief. She used to tell me, "Baby, you see with your heart, not your eyes. Don't let nobody tell you different." At the time, I didn't really understand what she meant, but those words stayed with me, echoing like a song I'd one day learn how to play. Music was my world before I even knew what music really was. As a boy, I'd sit by our old radiator in the winter and tap rhythms with my fingers against the pipes. The warmth and the echo gave me comfort. I'd hum to myself in little melodies that just came to me. Sometimes they were happy, sometimes they were sad, but they were mine. My mother noticed. One Christmas, even though we barely had enough for groceries, she found a way to get me a little keyboard. It was missing a few keys, and half the buttons didn't work, but to me, it was like holding the universe. That keyboard became my escape. I'd sit for hours pressing notes, feeling how they vibrated through the plastic, listening to how one sound blended into the next. I didn't know chords or scales or any of that. I just played what I felt. Over time, people in our building started noticing. The neighbors would knock on our door and say, "That boy has got something special." But my mom never let it go to my head. She'd pat my shoulder and say, "Elijah, music is a gift, not a weapon. Remember that." Still, I couldn't stop dreaming. I'd hear people talking about the grand concert hall downtown, the one where the world's greatest musicians came to play. It was a place far away from my world, where tickets cost more than my mom's paycheck. I never thought I'd set foot inside. But sometimes, when I pressed my ear against the radio late at night, I'd hear recordings from there. The deep, rolling notes of a grand piano, each sound so pure and full, it felt like it could reach into my chest and light me up inside. And then one day, fate took me there. It started with a mistake, or maybe destiny. I was about 14, walking with my cane near downtown, trying to get back home after my mom's shift ended late. I got turned around. The sounds of the city confused me sometimes. The way echoes bounced off tall buildings, the endless hum of traffic, footsteps rushing in every direction. I stumbled into an alley and found myself near a service entrance. A door had been left open, and I could hear it. The sound of a piano. Not just any piano, a grand, majestic thing, its notes filling the air with a richness I'd never heard before. I froze in the doorway, clutching my cane, letting the sound wash over me. Inside, someone was rehearsing, a pianist. From the whispers I caught from the stagehands nearby, it was none other than Victor Leclerc, the famous virtuoso from Europe. He was known for his brilliance, his arrogance, his perfection. To me, though, he was just the source of those sounds that seemed to open the sky. I stepped inside quietly, not knowing if I was allowed. My shoes scuffed against the polished floor, and suddenly the music stopped. "Who is there?" a sharp voice demanded. I froze. One of the assistants said, "It's just a kid, sir. Looks like, well, he's blind." For a long moment, silence. Then Victor laughed, a cold, dismissive sound. "A blind boy in a concert hall? What is this, some kind of joke?" My cheeks burned. I wanted to turn around and run, but something held me there. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was the music still echoing in my chest. "I'm sorry," I stammered. I just wanted to listen." There was another pause, then a scoff. "Listen," he says. "Music is not for listening alone, boy. It's for understanding, for mastery." His footsteps echoed closer. I could feel the weight of his presence. "Tell me, do you play?" My throat tightened. "A little," I admitted softly. The assistants chuckled, and Victor's voice turned sharp with amusement. "A blind boy who plays. How amusing." Then he said something I'll never forget. "Come, sit, play something. Just for fun." The room seemed to spin. My heart hammered in my chest. Me? Sit at that piano? The greatest pianist in the world was mocking me, daring me to humiliate myself in front of his people. Every instinct told me to shake my head, to walk away. But another voice whispered inside me, the same one that had guided my fingers across my broken keyboard for years. "Don't be afraid. Let them hear." With trembling hands, I followed the sound of the bench being pulled out. I sat. My fingers touched ivory that felt like silk beneath my skin. It was so different from my cracked little keyboard at home. Each key was alive, waiting for me. "Go on then," Victor said, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "Play your music." For a moment, I was paralyzed. The assistants chuckled softly, waiting for me to make a fool of myself. And then I remembered the radiator pipes in my old apartment, the rain tapping on the window, my mother humming softly as she folded laundry. I pressed a key, then another, and suddenly the sounds connected. My fear melted into rhythm. I began to play. At first, it was shaky, uncertain, but then, as my hands found the patterns, I forgot about the room, the laughter, even Victor's mocking voice. I only heard the music, my music. Notes poured out of me like a story I'd been holding in my chest for years. It wasn't written in any book. It was written in me. And the audience listened, truly listened. I could feel the silence, deep and reverent, stretching across the hall. Every pause, every breath I took, they leaned into it. By the time I struck the final chord, I was shaking with exhaustion. The sound rang out, then faded into stillness. For a heartbeat, nothing. Then, thunder. Applause so loud it vibrated through the stage. People were on their feet, shouting, clapping, some even crying. I couldn't see their faces, but I didn't need to. I could hear the truth in their voices. Victor leaned down and whispered, almost to himself, "Unbelievable." That night, I walked off the stage not just as a boy from the South Side, not just as someone who was blind. I walked off as a musician. When the applause finally died down that night, I stumbled backstage in a haze. My heart was still pounding, my fingers still buzzing as though the music hadn't fully left me yet. Reporters swarmed me. I heard their voices clashing over one another. "Who is he? Where did he come from? Blind and he plays like that?" Victor kept them at bay, his hand firm on my shoulder. For the first time, his voice wasn't sharp or impatient. It was protective. "Not tonight," he told them. "The boy needs rest." The boy. That's how they called me at first. The blind boy who played the piano. Overnight, everything changed. Newspapers ran headlines. "Blind prodigy stuns the world with emotional performance." "Victor Leclerc discovers musical miracle." Our phone rang nonstop. Invitations came from everywhere. Television, radio, concert halls across the ocean. But for me, it wasn't easy. Fame is heavy when you've never even had enough food in the fridge. Strangers pulled me into interviews, asked me to play a little something like I was a parlor trick. Some only wanted to gawk. And with every performance, the pressure grew. The audience wasn't just listening anymore, they were expecting. They wanted to be amazed every time, as though music was fireworks, not something born out of silence and pain. I started to crack. One night, before a major concert in New York, I froze at the piano. My hands hovered, but no sound came. The crowd rustled, confused. My chest tightened. For the first time, I was afraid of the piano itself. Backstage, I broke down. I can't, Victor. I can't breathe out there. They don't see me. They just see a blind boy who's supposed to shock them. Victor was quiet for a long time. Then he said something I never expected. Elijah, I envy you. I stopped crying. What? You've spent your life chasing perfection, technique, brilliance, reputation. But you play from a place I've long forgotten. You don't perform for them. You perform because the music has nowhere else